second episode of KAMEN KAIZERS. I am your host, Chris Eaton, and joining me, as always, is...
Arian, thank you for joining us.
So, if you guys tuned into the last episode, we went a lot longer than we had intended to, but we were covering a 10-episode show. So we decided, okay, let's not do a whole series this week. Let's do something smaller. Let's do something a lot more compact, so we can hopefully get this done in under an hour. And as we talked about last time, today's episode, we are going to be delving into a delightful little title, and that title is...
We are watching Kibakichi. Kibakichi. Nice. Part 1.
Kibakichi, yes.
Because there's two parts.
In my head, when I first saw this 15 years ago, I always got it mixed up with Zatoichi, so I always called it Kibatichi, which is completely wrong. So, but it is the Samurai Werewolf. And this is exactly the kind of movie why we're doing this show, because my God, is this movie a hell of a lot of fun.
Chris,
for those of you, yes.
Chris,
what?
In less than 5 words, how do you describe this movie?
This is I got the perfect thing. This is if Ishiro Honda directed Throne of Blood.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
All right.
That's how I was, again, on it had been a couple of years since I rewatched it, since I had watched this. I'm sitting there watching this thing. I'm like, this is it wants to be a Kurosawa samurai epic, but it has all of the gemstones of an awesome Honda kaiju film. Even though there's really no kaiju per se in this, there is a lot of monster action, and it gets wild towards the end, which we will delve into in a few moments. But for those who have never heard of this movie, it is directed by a director by the name of Tomoo Haraguchi.
And where can we find Tomoo's work? How would you know him?
You would know him best as the director of Death Kappa, which, again, rewatching this, I didn't realize. Yeah, not a great movie in of itself, but when I was rewatching this, I'm like, oh snap, that's the Death Kappa suit
it's
right
your
there.
Boy.
Yeah, but the man has an actual pretty decent rep of films. He's done Mika Droid, which was a very cool little underground film about a super soldier that looks like he's from Junon, the Wolf Brigade, and Death Kappa, obviously. And he's also directed several episodes of Ultraman, I believe Ultraman Gaia especially. And he's done a lot of effects work, too. He actually worked on the Gamera movies as well, too. I guess working on the suits. That's according to the IMDb. I'm pretty sure there's some people out there screaming like, what? But that is what I found of the gentleman online. This is his third outing as a filmmaker. And this little gem came out way back in 2003. It is 20 years old at this point. 20. I remember picking this thing up at Best Buy, when Best Buy used to have an awesome DVD collection. And I remember just seeing them, just like, there's this werewolf and samurais. I'm like, you know what? To a 20-year-old Chris, that looks pretty awesome. And man, was I not disappointed at all. So, you've seen this movie before, right, Arian?
I saw it when it first came out on DVD. I think ADV put this out.
So it's been a while for you as well.
Yeah, I've seen this movie twice.
I think it was Tokyo Shock put this out.
Tokyo Shock, okay.
I want to say this was a Tokyo Shock title.
I think I picked this one up at Comic-Con, whatever year it came out.
Mm-hmm.
I saw it and I was like, oh, all right, cool. I mixed it up with part 2 when we're gonna rewatch this, I was like, man, I could have sworn there was like this whole sequence was like cherry blossoms and stuff. But no, that's part two, and that's for a later day. But this is
Yes.
a lot better than I remembered.
Yes.
Yeah,
So let's delve into the story of Kibakichi. So the movie opens, and I'm not, but so the movie opens with a lone samurai wandering the plains of
the
Japan,
planes.
and yes, and he's attacked by a group of bandits, and very quickly makes short work of them in the most samurai way you could. Rewatching this, I couldn't help but notice there's a little bit of obviously it's homaging a lot of great samurai films, but between the look and the way it's shot, man, there's a lot of another little movie that I love to death called Versus. It feels like that this took a little inspirato from, especially in the design. Just it looked like, especially Kibakichi's in his human form, his look, it looks like something that it's low budget. Clearly, this is like a very very low budget movie, but you would never notice that by the way it's shot. But it's shot with that like that kinetic style that Ryuhei Kitamura was doing at the time.
You know what it reminded me of? It
Hmm.
reminded me of a spaghetti western. It reminded me of
Yeah, there's a lot of that too.
yeah. I don't I. It's hard to pinpoint, but Kibakichi reminds me a lot of Clint Eastwood, especially at the
Oh,
beginning.
there's
Right?
clearly Man with No Name. Yeah.
Got
Again,
got
considering the Man with No Name was actually taken, he was inspired by a lot of Kurosawa films in the first place. So it all comes around.
right.
It's all circle. It's all circle.
Okay,
Um,
so beginning of the movie, no words are said, if I remember correctly. There is not a single line in
not
dialogue.
one.
Right.
There's
And
just
then
there's just hacking and slashing. Some arms are lost. Some heads are run. And to be fair, I mean this is a violent movie, but the violence is very drawn out. So it does the thing where it opens with like a wham,
yeah,
and you see our hero just annihilate these group of bandits, and then we get the thing that I love in movies that we don't do enough anymore: an opening title sequence set to
yeah.
a very awesome score, like very reminiscent of like old samurai films, but with like a nice modern, little twist to it, if you will. And we get to see Kibakachi just roaming the Japan countryside, doing his little stuff, just being that wandering samurai, that wandering ronin, if you will. And we also get just not only that, what happened to title cards? Title cards used to be awesome. They used to put some effort into them, especially in low budget films. I just rewatched Tetsuo the other night, and
Nice.
the opening of that was like, I'm like, man, people used to put effort. Now movies just like, oh, now we start and there we go. I
When
want
you
that
say
effort brought back.
when you say title cards, what are you thinking of? Tetsuo, obviously, but give me another good example where our guys can look and be like, that's a good title card. Because to me, when I think of title
Uh,
cards, I think of the opening sequence to Final Wars. And I think that is
that
A plus.
that's a great one. Um, the opening of Street Fighter, the Sonny Chiba Street Fighter, when they're
Ooh,
playing the
nice,
guitar, yeah.
nice.
After he pulled that job, that's a great one. Top Gun, the
Oh,
opening of Top Gun. Just you don't it does it's no characters, nothing. It's just the Navy and just doing their thing. It's just gear porn all the way through, and you're like, I am so down. Like that's the kind of stuff that I want back. Pulp Fiction had a great title card opening sequence too. Stuff like that. Like the '70s were full of that kind of guys. The '80s too, and then we kind of just drifted. It's like what modern TV shows do. They're just like Lost started this nonsense too. Instead of having like, this opening, it was just ooh, and then that's it. Now that's what everyone does. Everyone does the same nonsense.
Okay,
Last tangent.
Go ahead.
Last tangent.
Let's
If
hear
you
this.
want to watch an awesome opening title card sequence, the second season of The Shield, I think it's like episode 4. It's right after Vic beats the hell out of this this cartel dude, and they're playing that tantric song Breakdown as they're recapping what happened in the last episode, and the titles are just going through as Vic is just covered in blood after he just beat the crap out of this guy and burned his face on an oven. Like, that's how you grab people.
Hey,
That's how you grab people.
you want to hear a hot take? I
Yeah.
think that The Shield is a more superior show than Breaking Bad. And,
Yes, I agree 100%.
I feel like Vic Mackey and friends do not get enough credit for
Nope.
what they did for cable TV.
They're the one, they paved the way for all that TV. That's the reason why I don't watch a lot of these new shows. I'm like, we already hit perfection with The Shield. How can you improve upon this? And everyone tells me, oh, you got to watch this. No, I've watched The Shield.
Season 2 is probably the best
Oh
season.
my God, it's so, yeah. Before we, let's move on before
hold on.
we delve into the awesomeness of The Shield.
All right. So title card. Okay, cool. And then we meet our characters. Who are our characters?
So,
hold on.
actually, we get a little backstory. We get the setup to the world that we're in, where they explain yokai.
And what are yokai?
Yokai are, they're spirits. They're Japanese spirits, if you will.
They're not ghosts.
They're not ghosts. They are,
cryptids?
It's a little hard. They're kind of their own thing. They're not, they're supernatural, but they aren't dead, or nor are they like alive. They're their own. It's like David S. Pumpkins. They're their own thing.
Sorry.
And so we get the history of yokai and humans. They lived side by side in harmony with each other for a while, and then of course humans got a little brash, and they started developing modern weapons, including things like guns, that essentially drove them to near extinction. And kind of going back to the last episode of Kamen Rider, where it's like, we will, the bad guys like, we will not tolerate anything different. That's, if you're not human, we're not doing. And this plays in deeply into the story. So we learned that essentially, like, most of the yokai have been just annihilated off the face of the planet. They're kind of they're an endangered species at this point, but they can also shapeshift. So many of them have taken human forms to hide amongst the people, and that's where we come into our hero entering a small town. And so after this whole title sequence, he's walking into town and he's crossing this bridge, and all of a sudden the water, he's over this bridge with this little pond, and the pond erupts, and out come this just gang of kappas. Very cool looking. That one thing you got to say about this movie, it's low budget, but man, did they put time and effort into the monster makeup effects and the suits, because these kappas are, and then there's the head kappa kind of like taunting. Kibakichi. I'm going to jump. That's the problem. I got it in my head my old way. I'm going to keep stumbling over it like an a-hole.
Can you
describe kind of like laying it out?
Can you describe what a kappa is? Yeah.
Kappas, they're bald turtle men. I think that's the best way you can describe it. They live in water. They're kind of turtle-ish, but they got beaks. Mm-hmm. And they got like a little bald spot on their head with like a ring of hair.
I'm pretty sure the whole thing with kappas is it's like a way to get kids away from the water, because the kappas will bring you down to the water and suck your soul through your butthole. Is that correct?
Yes, that is a big one.
Yeah.
And the only way to ward them off is with I believe it's with squash or zucchini.
Squash, something like that, right?
Something like that, yeah. I don't like my knowledge of yokai only goes so deep. But this was the part where I'm sitting here watching. I'm like, I recognize that kappa suit. Yeah, that's the death kappa suit. So it survived like another 7 years, and they reused it for a much more atrocious movie, which that's neither here nor there. But it's kind of set the stage of Kibakichi's, district. They're
World.
like, they're just telling him, yeah, it's the world. The head cop of, after he kills a bunch of them, he's like, look, I know what you are, and I know they kind of blame, like, you get this idea that our hero has screwed up somehow, and the rest of the yokai know about it. So he's given a dire warning, but he progresses into town nonetheless, like KAMEN Kung Fu. He's like, just wandering from town. I want no trouble. But of course, he always finds trouble. So this is where we meet pretty much the crew of our villains of the movie. He wanders into a bar, orders some sake, and of course, there's all these very
Degenerate,
dubious individuals who are completely drunk.
sketchy
And
dudes.
and they're giving him the
looking.
hairy. Oh yeah, they're giving him the hairy eyebrow too. They're like, hey, you're not from around these parts. So one tries to buy his sword off of him. He's like, here, I'll give you this. Go to the casino, And he's like, this doesn't say a word because our hero's stoic, as many great heroes are. And that leads us to him actually like, okay, go to the casino, where we are introduced to the rest of the rapscallions. Turns out, not all of them are what they appear to be. So we get this whole casino sequence laying down. It's run by a Yakuza boss, and they're playing. I forgot the name, the proper name of.
It's like craps, Japanese craps.
Yeah, so they put the dice in the bowl, and then they plop it down, and you make the bet. And of course, like, the house always takes they always take the wins. And our hero Kibakichi sits down, places a bet, but he wins, and that draws the attention of everybody, including one sinister-looking dude with a really gnarly but cool eye patch that's a little too detailed for the time and era that it's in. But you got to spruce up a little bit. So that's when our hero is given an ultimatum. He's like, look, we run a bit of a legit business here. The boss is looking for some strong hands. Like, we can offer you a job. Why don't you come work for us? What are you doing? Because he's a Ronin. He's wandering, and most Ronins, put their services up for grabs to the highest bidder. And Kibakichi's at first like, I don't know. So after some mulling, we see the gamblers who had lost after they made a bit of a ruckus, especially our eye patch individual. They're taken to a back room by the Yakuza members, and the one with the eye patch is tossed into this room that's just a mountain of skulls, and he's looking around, it's like, what the hell? And he sees his picture, like he's got the wanted picture up, or the painting art, the old style wanted picture where they had to sketch your likeness, and he sees it, and he's like, what?
It looks like a One Piece wanted picture. You know those?
Yes.
You've seen those? But, with error.
Very much so.
Airbrush.
The old school, yeah. The old school wanted, and he rolls in there, and they shut the door behind him. He's like, what the hell is this? It's just this army of skulls, and he's kind of looking around, and it's
spooky skeletons. Ooh.
By 3 demonic-looking skull creatures, which were awesome. Sadly, it's the only time they really show up in the movie, but God, did they work.
Look,
and this is where this movie really like set the stage.
Look, to say that these creatures aren't science class, skeletons with hoods on them is not inaccurate, because that's exactly what they are. But they look so cool. Just, I don't know what they did with them. I don't know if they modded them, but they do the job, and it looks, I don't know, the lighting, the whole skeleton everywhere, like just like you see like arms and shit all over the place. You're like, huh.
Mm-hmm.
Like you do feel like a little sense of like what the hell's going on here? Because it's a very different world from what you just like the brightly lit casino or
Mm-hmm.
this little hole in the wall thing to get pushed into um, this cavern, this dungeon of death or whatever. It looks really cool.
The way the skull, like some of the skulls still got like flesh on them. They're still
Yeah,
white. Like
yeah,
it's all the little details, like, and the way it's shot too. It's low, like it's quick flashes. This movie's real big, but not in the annoying Born Identity way where it's like I can't keep no. It's movie. It's the fact that like they have one camera, it's steady, and they're keeping the momentum going. So they these quick cuts, but they're just long enough to establish what you're seeing.
it reminds me of the Thriller video. A lot of fog, a lot of low
Yeah.
angles, a lot of like you're not really sure until you see it, and you're like, oh, okay, cool, cool. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So,
So when
Patch guy
these
dies.
three, yeah, that guy dies. Like he gets
For
torn by
sure.
these three skeletal banshee looking things. Reminded me again. You want to go deep cuts? They reminded me of. Did you ever watch Humanoids?
Inhumanoids, the
Yeah, the
cartoon.
old cartoons from the '80s.
Yeah,
The three monsters. So remember Decompose,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
the one that could bring the dead back. So
Yeah.
when he scratches the I forgot the girl's name that was on the Earth Core team. She turns into this giant demonic creature with horns, and she's a skull and has like this draped, like clothing over it. Makes absolutely no sense, but it's a cool concept. They kind of look like that, and they're just puppets on the trains, but the way they're shot is so damn good. Like again,
Yeah.
it's the it's work with what you got, and hide the flaws, highlight the good stuff. And
You played
that's
Castlevania, right?
Oh yeah.
You played. Okay, after you beat Dracula, you fight death.
Mm-hmm.
That's a live action. That's what
Yeah.
we're seeing. A live action version of death.
Yeah, it does look like live action. Yeah, very much so.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, I think I had to know. Okay, no, it wasn't these guys. You're running into something. Okay, so we'll get that in a second. So we find out that the local gang, the Yakuza, actually has yokai working for them. Like the yokai are working, and it's not against their will either. They're there for. They're like, no, we're here. Like we've made a deal with these guys. We know what we're doing, and they're wary of our hero because they're like, you kind of see what's going on, and that's when he Kibakichi is he's like, okay. So after he takes the job, we see him have a drink. He's passed out, and this is where we get our first real like instance of what happened in his past, because he's a haunted samurai, and we see him dreaming of what looks like a village of wolf people getting slaughtered left and right, but so quick you're like, oh, I wonder what that is. So when so basically after that he wakes up, officially takes the job because he realizes like, okay, there's some other stuff going on here. I'm gonna stick around to see what this is going on. So we cut back to the casino the next night, and so now Kibakichi's working there, or Kibakichi's working there. See, again, I'm doing it. There's another group. There's a rival Yakuza gang who's sitting there gambling. They got tons of money. It's like Casino Royale style stuff, and they are throwing money down. And we got this one woman. So the woman that drops the dice, she is like all in, like she's flashing a little leg, doing all this stuff, and you're seeing like the money just get lower and lower, and every time those dice come up, and these guys are losing, and they're like, hey, I'm calling some nonsense. And they're like, what? We're just throwing the dice in. We're just playing. It's a fair game. And once once the gang's money is gone, the boss's money is gone, the Yakuza who are running the casino make an offer. They're like, look, you lost your money. We want to leave you, excuse me.
Satisfied.
We don't want to leave you unsatisfied. So let us take you to our high rollers room, which is a little shack on the other side of the casino, where they walk in and it's all of these geishas, these very beautiful women, and they're all like alluring, and the guys are like, oh, okay, hey, okay, sure, I can deal with this. I just lost my butt on the game, but they're wined and dined, if you will, to be in the most PG way I can say this, but this is definitely the least PG moment of the movie, as the geishas start kind of getting a little frisky with with their.
So one of them, one of them gets on top of the guy, and starts woman handling him. I don't know what the right word is, but gets really handsy. Reveals takes off her top, and then at this point she's fully exposed, and the guy leans back a little bit, and she leans back, and then she comes up, and then she's a spider lady.
She's a spider lady. And this is what I was talking about earlier. She's a spider lady who has the roar of, where did I put it down? She roars. It's the roar of I believe it's Megalon, and that's the first time I'm like, wait, I know something's that up, sound, right? Like
something's up.
Yep, something's up. But not only that, but it's like wait. That's a if you watch Godzilla movies, that's a very familiar sound. And basically all the geishas turn into these spider people, and she entangles, our main one entangles this her poor victim into a pile of webbing, and then eviscerates him as the other guys are just getting torn apart. This is where, while Kibakichi's wandering around, he hears all this commotion, runs in and sees all of these spider women around, and he's like, what the heck is going on here? They all, like, he goes to attack them, and they're like, no, like, it's cool, it's cool.
Yeah.
And he's like, wait, this is not cool. And this is when the rest of the gang that works at the casino all run in, and they realize he can see our essence. Like, I think you're one of us, because apparently the yokai can't tell, some of them can't tell others apart, apparently, when they're in their human form. And that's when he gets the lowdown. They tell him, hey, we're here under our own volition. We're not, slaves. We're not doing it. And he's like, why? Why would you do such a thing? And they're like, no, just believe me. We're here. And it's explained that there is a mutual agreement between the boss and them over a possible paradise, if you will. And we'll get into that in a minute, because it's not laid out completely here. So now they ask you, it's like, hey, why don't you join up with us? Like, we're your people. Like, hang out. Like, you'll still work with the other guys, but you could be with us. And he's like, look, I don't really want any part of this, whatever this is. Like, he's like, I'm just here doing a job, and that's it. And kind of leaves them hanging. Much to their chagrin, because they're like, well, hey, the more the merrier. We're rare people at this point. Sorry, my notes keep going. My notes keep swapping down. So, where were we at?
There is a part of the movie where I was left a little cold, and I think it's coming up after they talk. Let me see my notes. He's wandering around, and then he gets attacked.
Yes, this is okay. You're right. He
Yeah.
walks out, so he's outside roaming the grounds, and this gigantic boomerang-looking thing comes out of nowhere, cuts like a post in half, and hits him. And he's like, "No, it can't be." We're introduced to a woman named Anju, who they have apparently a past with one another.
She
This
is the
scene,
other survivor of the massacre of his village, right?
yes. So she alludes that she hates him. Like they have history. She hates him. She blames him for what happened to their tribe. They have a quick little battle, which is actually pretty cool because the battles, the first half of this movie is they open with a heavy battle and then it gets a little light on battles for maybe like the first 45 minutes or so. So we get this little interlude between them where we kind of see the superhumanness of yokai when they fight. So they're doing a lot of what I call the Guyver flips, like the Steve Wang did, and they're clashing. And
Can you
the
can you
ruckus
tell us what a Guyver flip is?
Guyver
Is it when
flip.
you're
So
yeah?
it's when you jump midair, you get into a perfect like vertical like line that breaks all sense of physics. You're spinning, and then you manage to kick the person at the same time. Even though
It
it's
looks
not
really
working
cool.
into it, it looks awesome. That's why you do it. There's no way, no one in UFC, no one in real life is going to be doing this because it would never ever work. But to show that someone is superhuman or has powers, they do the spin kick midair. And apparently, I don't know why spinning is apparently much more impactful, but in these
Because
movies,
it
the
looks cool.
physics, it looks cool. It
That's
definitely
why.
looks cool. Oh, what do we got? Oh, I knocked something. Can you still see me? There we go.
I can see.
Sorry about that.
Yeah.
All right, yeah, I just bumped my camera, so all this is gonna get edited out. So she takes off. The other yokais come out and they're like, "What was that about?" And he's like, "Nothing. You don't want to know." So after these two clash, we find out that not all is well within the Yakuza gang. There's actually a coup being built by the human members of the Yakuza, and we see what they're doing. It opens with a gigantic Gatling gun and just blown apart these nice little targets, which look a little too good again for the time and place because they look like they were printed at a print shop, but
Sure.
let that slide. And we find out that the elite guards don't like the yokai. They don't like that they're working with them. They kind of hate them, and they're all dressed like the Exians from Final Wars.
Oh
They're
yeah.
all black leather gear.
There's no reason why everyone should have black leather coats and black plant pants and in what years? 1600s something. There's no reason.
1700s of that, yeah. It's
No,
something they never really give you a time frame.
But it looks cool. It looks so cool.
And not only that, everyone's got their hair back in a perfect ponytail.
Oh, yeah.
All the chicks got like makeup on that's absolutely perfect. The main bad guy is like this dream dude. He's smoldering, he's sinister, and he's just like
he looks like Wednesday Addams. He's got like the bangs, the perfect. I'm like, all right, dude.
Yes, yeah. Just perfectly like. Doesn't look like any of the other trash around there. Like apparently they have a wonderful salon back in the times. That's what running with the Yakuza will do for you. And pretty much it's they mentioned that they got these guns from Europe. They're the newest technology out of there. They're these massive cannon Gatling guns, and they're just blowing apart everything. And you find out the ulterior motive is that they're going to form a coup, and they are going to not only take over, but they plan on taking down. They're going to use the guns as target practice on. They're going to use the yokai as target practice with the new guns before they go for greater ambitions of calamitous intent. And so now we have our line in the sand of where our, who are our bad guys and who are our good guys. So that leads us to the next day. So that leads us to the night. The yokai are. It's like they're having what I call a after party for all the crew, because all the yokai are kind of out and about, and they're all partying, and they're all what we would call like they're all yokai'd out. Like you see some alliterations of some classic ones, like big tongues are everywhere. There's faces on the back of other heads. There's just monsters, and they're all dancing. They're all having a good time. It's a party. If there were Ewoks there, they'd be singing the Yub Yub song, because that's what it felt like.
Right.
Guess who's not having a good time?
I love the bit where they do this bit where the dice from the games, you find out that itself is a yokai, because you can see like the eye in the snake. I'm like, that's so cool.
The very next scene, because this is where we get the full. That very next scene is where we get the full leader of the yokai tells them their the full plan is laid out. It's like they're working with the Yakuza because they promised them a village of their own where they can live in peace, and other humans are allowed to mingle, but they can be themselves. They will be free from prejudice of society and being hunted down, and that's why they're doing it. And that's why they want our hero Kibakichi to come and join them. It's like, look, we can do this. And we find he's torn, because he's like, I know not all humans are bad, but there are very bad humans. And he's warning them. It's like, I would not put your entire faith as good as their intentions are. Be wary, because things might go south. And that's when he's talking with the dice lady, when he finds out that the dice are actually yokai. That's why they win every time. And he gets he's like, hey, so what, did you let me win? And that's when, our lady reveals, like, no. I would never do that to a fellow yokai. Like, you won on under your own terms. Like, I did not cheat at all. And he's like, all right. I believe you. Sure. So this leads to just which is one thing I remember. The one thing I do remember from when I watched this like 5 or 6 years, when it gets to the middle of this movie, it felt like especially the first time I watched it, I'm like, this slows down. And there's this whole sequence. It's only about 5 minutes long, but it feels like it goes forever, because it's just this long, drawn-out sequence of just this melodramatic music, and we just kind of see the goings on in this tiny little village, and the other yokai playing around, everyone looking sullen, but then there's a little bit of happiness, and pretty much this is like the one moment I would say, this is the one downside of this movie, that it kind of just screeches to a halt for some reason. But that was the thing. That was when I watched it 5 years ago, almost 20 years ago. Rewatching this, I'm like, oh, okay. This isn't as long as I remember it being, and serves a purpose in the story, because we're already at the halfway mark of this movie. Like, it's like, this is the calm before the storm scene. That's because the coup happens right after this. And all the Yakuza guys start marching in with their Gatling guns and their handguns. They're 3-barreled, like, blunderbusters that, work like modern guns. But again, it's like, I don't know if that technology really was there for this, but you know what?
Cool.
Why did they do it?
That's all that matters. It looks cool.
That's the key. It looks freaking awesome. And this is, again, like, did not remember the third act coming as fast as it did. Because this is only like it's a 94-minute movie, I think, before the end credits.
Yeah.
And I didn't. Yeah, it's pretty fast. I remember like, man, this is actually a lot tighter than I remember being, because, as I said, that whole sequence, that that melodramatic sequence, it is harkening back to like old samurai films, like old love story films, where it's just it's invoking like classic Japanese cinema, but you're in a kind of a fun exploitation monster movie. Like, it's having its cake and eating it too at this point. And basically at this point, when the Yakuzas come in and they're like, all right, start unloading, and we just hit the ground running. The last 35, almost 40 minutes of this movie is just one gigantic action sequence. It
so
does
satisfying.
not stop. It
so
very much so. And I'm
see.
like, and it reminded, oh, this is why I love this movie. This is exactly why I love this movie. It's you know what? You know who did something? It reminded me, not to the extent, but similarly to 13 Assassins, the Takashi Miike movie.
Yeah.
Where you spend like the first 40 minutes building to the whole thing, and then when you get to the third act, it's a very long third act, but it's a roller coaster of a third act. So now the village is under attack, and they are just, by the way, never see these guys reload ammo ever. Not once. It's like a video game. It's like
it's one of those movies,
It's one of those movies. It doesn't matter. It's just blast. It's clearly like prop guns. They're shooting like
fireworks and shit.
Fireworks and stuff. And they're cutting to like, just blood, like squibs going off. People are falling left and right. Holes are being blown out of the building. Again, all very well done. Like, the pacing of this is exceptionally well done, because it's always, you're never like staying on one thing longer than it needs to be. And I'm not saying, again, it's not quick cutting to hide the fact that, like, oh, we don't know how to edit action. No, it all flows beautifully. It's all laid out, cut perfect, but it's just a gigantic slaughter. Like, the yokai are just getting hammered left and right, and Kibakichi realizes what's going on, and as others are getting slaughtered, he takes up the sword, and he starts slaughtering himself. Like, he's the only one like going battle with these guys, while everyone else, you forget, like, they have, some of them have powers, but they never change into their monster forms and fight back. And this is where Kibakichi's having like flashbacks of his own village when they were slaughtered by people. Like, he's having non-flashbacks, and he's watching his own people getting slaughtered by arrows just left and right. And this is, again, you get a little glimpse of his wolf form, but you don't quite see the whole thing yet, which I got to give him credit. Like, going, like, they
saving it.
Yes, they tease it just enough. Like, he's going to turn into a werewolf at some point. But it's on the poster. Yeah, it's literally, and you see the flashbacks. You see some of the other wolves like in his flashbacks. So you know it's coming, but you're like, wait, not yet. It's the foreplay. The foreplay of it all is fantastic. So there is this moment. Well, go ahead.
It sucks because you see, going back to before Kibakichi, takes up the sword, or right before he does, there are some of these yokai hiding out, and they're waiting for these the Yakuza to come in, and they're ready with their swords, but they just come in and just like shoot up the place, and they have no chance because you are bringing a sword to a gunfight. So maybe they'll get one, but for each one they kill, maybe 4 or 5 of them die. So you can tell it's not gonna end well for these guys.
No.
At this point, I think there is a human girl who is adopted by the head of the casino, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
She is kidnapped to lure, to bait out everybody else from coming out, right?
Mm-hmm.
Go on.
So this is where we get this point of the boss is like, what the hell's going on here? And they reveal like, hey, look, we're not working with no yokai. We don't need this muscle. We have muscle. And not only that, but we're taking over this this whole operation. And they give him because he was the one that had like, he's like, look, I want to work with these people. Like we will, like I promised them something. And they're like, yeah, we're not honoring that at all. And they give him they give him an MO. They're like, or a not an MO. They're
ultimatum.
An ultimatum. Thank you. MO was wrong word. They give an ultimatum. It's like, look, kill the girl because we know you're in love with her, and we'll let you live, and we will spare the rest of the yokai that we have not killed yet, but you have to kill her.
This part of the movie.
The girl was.
Yeah. This part of the movie, the entire time of the movie, you know what? You tell this part, and then I'll react to this. Go ahead.
So, the girl, she understands. She knows ultimately. She's like, what other choice do we have? And even he's like, yes, I get it. We have to in order to keep the dream alive. So, she gets on her knees, and she's bows her head, and he draws his sword. And she's like, I understand. Like, do what you have to do. If it means, if my death means ending this madness, please, like, end the madness. And of course, fake out. The boss goes for the swing and just gets completely blown away by the gigantic Gatling gun. Like he's just riddled with bullets.
Oh, destroyed. So this part of the movie, this boss, this casino boss, you're not really sure what his deal is until the very end when he sacrifices himself so the girl can get away. The entire time I was watching this movie, like this guy, runs a casino where people get killed. Like this guy doesn't care. Like I really thought this guy was a heel until he turns babyface right at the end, and it was so unexpected. I thought like, oh, he's just gonna go through with it. And that's it. But no, he doesn't, and that's something I didn't expect out of this movie. Now I'm not saying it was a dumb movie or anything, but like just enough to keep you like, oh shit, I didn't see that coming. I thought it was really cool. Him getting blown away is, I mean, they don't hide anything. This guy, these people are not afraid of violence.
No.
There's blood all over the place. Yeah, there's. If you've seen Kill Bill, you know what I'm talking about. That's the amount of level of violence we're dealing with.
Again, tiny budget, but man, did they make it work?
You see it. You see it on screen.
Yeah.
The girl
the girl knows what her fate is after that. Like, we were gonna kill you anyway. So she lays on top of the dead body of the boss, and she's about ready to accept her fate when who shows up but our hero. And he arrives, sword in hand, looks down, sees the guy, realizes what has happened, and realizes, you know what, I was wrong. There are some good people in this world. And we get our moment. Like he gets pissed. And we get an awesome transformation sequence. Again, low budget, but they make it work.
This looks like it hurt.
Yes, I love a good werewolf transformation. And not only that, but here's the thing. I love a good wolf man over a good werewolf. Like, I love I'm a bigger fan of the man-wolf hybrid where he stands up. He's not exactly, he doesn't turn into a full wolf. Like, it's the features are there. Like, like the old style wolf man. When I think of a werewolf, that's what I think. Like you straddle both worlds. Like you are half man, half wolf. Not the American Werewolf in London where you turn into a literal wolf. Some people prefer that. I like my wolfman. I like my OG wolfman. I want, that's what I want. He changes, and it's just the score swells, and he has this almost it's akin to the Shin Kamen Rider movie, not the original one. When transforms the first time, and you see like the makeups. They got the what's the name of the effect?
Face
It's the
contorting.
effect.
It just looks like he's like bulging out. It looks painful. His nails are growing out.
His
It
ears
doesn't
are
look like a good
changing.
time.
The hair is
Yes,
growing
yeah.
like his back. The back like
Punching over.
But then
Yeah.
they do the great thing that the Japanese know how to do better than anyone else. It's the quick cut of like when someone changes, it's just a snappy cut and they pull the camera back. You know the shot I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
And they do that, and you get the full reveal, and the music just starts, man, like it's hitting, and then he is in his full wolf, yokai, werewolf glory, and he looks awesome. My God, I remember the first time watching this when he transforms, and he's just this full man beast. I sat and like, oh, shit's about to get real, and my God, does it get real? Because here's the thing, he goes on a slaughter spree. And now that he's in his full wolf mode, now he's got all these awesome powers. Like he can jump like 40 feet into the air. He's ricocheting off the walls. He's doing claw attacks. He's ripping arms from bodies, beating them over the head. He's tearing faces off. The Yakuza guys are like, oh.
The wind is blowing.
Oh, the wind just starts coming out of nowhere.
It just, everything is just flying. Like everything is just, the slash here, and he just like moves on.
He creates a hurricane indoors.
Yeah. It's like, what is going on? It's very quick. You start feeling bad for the Yakuza guys because now they don't have a chance to whatever's going on here. It's like, oh shit.
No, and they're all like, we got to, and then here's the thing, again, that just, it made my black heart grow 3 times the size, because earlier we heard like some familiar sounds. This guy starts roaring, and he sounds like Gyra. They're using the Gyra roar from the Gargantuas, and I'm like, I remember the first one, I'm like, are you kidding me? Like I'm hearing it's Gyra, like it's Gyra all the way through. It's like it's the unmistakable sound of it, and a little bit of the brown Gargantua, a little bit of Sanda in there too, but it's just the way he's moving around. He's roaring. He's ripping people off. They take the fight outside. And again, once he turns into a wolf, somehow a hurricane kicks up, because now there is like a windstorm blowing through. There is dust all over the place. People are scattering. He comes out and he just starts annihilating people left and right. But we find out
he goes outside, and then we have a traitor amongst us.
Yes.
One of the villagers in I don't want to say villagers, but people at the casino comes up and says, "Hey man, they offered me a good deal, and I'm gonna side with these guys." Takes off his cloak and he turns into a cyclops. This ogre-looking cyclops.
Oh, and it's so freaking awesome!
And you're like,
it is.
His roar. His roar.
Oh.
Is Titanosaurus.
It's Titanosaurus and Toho's King Kong.
Is it?
They're mixed.
Okay.
It's in little King Caesar. It's that familiar roar.
Yeah.
The grunts with Titanosaurus, the like in between, and they just start.
Wow. Oh my God! This is why you watch this movie. This fight scene here.
Yes.
Whirlwind outside. They're going. They're doing Matrix 2. Fighting up in the air. They understand. They do not have wings. They cannot fly.
Yeah.
But somehow they are fighting 20 feet up in the air.
They're leaping 40. They're leaping 40 feet in the air. They're throwing each other around. Look, this is when I said this was like Throne of Blood via Honda. This is exactly what I'm talking about. This whole sequence was shot like an old school Ishiro Honda like kaiju fight scene. And not only that, the best versions in my opinion were like the hair suits, or like the suits where there's like no, like the Gargantuas, like Kong, like the lighter suits when the actors have a lot more room to move around. And you want to bring I try to find joy in everything in life. Sometimes it's a little hard, but you want to bring out the absolute like purest joy in me is watching monsters fight. there is nothing better to me than watching monsters beat the crap out of each other. It is one of my simplest pleasures in life, and that will be entombed on my gravestone. Here lies Chris Eaton. Loved watching monsters fight.
Hell
That
yeah.
is that is
Hell
that
yeah.
is that. And these two are just but the fight is awesome
This is
because
a
they are
quick fight. This is not quick in time because it does go on for a little bit. But this isn't number one. It's outdoors. It's still daytime. You can see everything.
Yeah.
And this choreograph. This isn't a slow, giant kaiju fight. No, this is a street brawl. This is like some Street Fighter 2 shit. You know?
It's
wonderful.
It's
it is
absolute
a great fight.
Pure joy. And not only that, but then they do the thing I love. They break through a wall. Like they throw each other through a wall and they start fighting in this barn. And they are knocking everything down around. Like the Cyclops is picking him up and tossing him. Like the stuntmen, God bless these stuntmen in these suits, because they are beating the holy hell out of each other. There's one shot where the Cyclops literally picks up Kibakichi, throws him against the wall, and he just drops on his head. Like, it is absolutely
it's a person.
Spectacular.
You can tell there's a person in there. It's not a dummy. It's a full person in his costume. He took that hit. He took it. And they caught it on camera.
Talking about that, like on that for a moment like that, when you're watching again, because it's why I think Senda and Gyro are one of my absolute favorite designs.
Yeah.
It's because yes, they're suits, but they're not quite masks. They're almost like facial prosthetics with the suit. So you see the actors underneath. Their eyes are moving. It's their eyes. Like you see them underneath the prosthetic. And that's the same with this. It's like the whole time, like you can see the actor under the makeup a bit, but it's just enough to give a sense of realism to it. Like every time, like they're going for a punch, like they get a close up of the eyes, and he's like darting, looking for where he's going to go next. Now the Cyclops has got the big, goofy, googly eye, but it works because he's got the big horn on his head. He's like a caveman looking thing, like he's a big troll. They just womp on each other, and you're like, I could watch this for another 15, 20 minutes. But they bring the fight to an end because the Yakuza guys. They're like, well, they're both in there. Just start offloading, and the Cyclops gets shot in the back. He gets betrayed. It is a betrayal, and he gets blown away by the Gatling gun. And as he's laying there dying, he's like,
he accepts it. Yeah,
I brought this upon myself. I'm sorry. And it's almost that scene from like Red Dawn. It's like, avenge me, And so this is where. Yeah, and
Kibakichi kind of just looks at him and kind of is like, like, I'm sorry, brother, I'm sorry, But he has to move on. He has to move on. He runs outside. There's guns. The guns are going off. I think there's 2 guns going off.
There's 2 guns. He's dodging left and right.
Explosions are going off left and right. Oh my god!
I swear. There's so much. Yeah, there's so much
safety.
going on.
Let's take a step back and let's talk about safety. And the pyro in this movie, the explosions, all this stuff. I don't think you can get this movie made now. In America, at least. Definitely not. This guy's running. He's running for his life. He's trying to he's going zigzagging, and I don't know how. I don't know if there's a marker what we can't see, but explosion going left and right. God forbid he takes he trips or he takes an extra step because he will get blown.
Yeah, that suit is as flammable as it's like a 99-cent Spider-Man figure. So this is where we get to our climax. As he's jumping around, he finally gets close enough, and he just starts wailing on all of our aptly neo-dressed Yakuza members. It's one thing to rip off the arm, but there's a gag that I got to give them all the credit in the world, because this is where the blood really starts flowing. Like they saved it they gave it to you in the beginning, and they saved it for the very end. Because that's the thing. The slaughter is kind of bloodless. There's blood, but it's not like there's blood gushing all over the place. There's a few shots here and there, but there's not like a ton of it. Here, once he starts annihilating all of our main bad guys, there is fountains of blood, like Shogun Assassin style. He rips one dude's arm out of its socket, but it's hanging on by the coat. And the guy's screaming as blood is squirting all over the place.
The wind is going off.
Oh my God. The wind, not only that, the wind is just, again, like there's just like a hurricane blowing through as he's coming. It's the little details that I love. Rips another dude's head off, blood squirting off that, tears limb from limb. And he has the final showdown with our main bad guy.
Now, the guy with the bangs.
And just the guy with the bangs.
This guy is, he's the last guy left. But the one thing he has over Kibakichi is he has all the guns. He's got grenades. I don't know how he has grenades. He's got guns. He's got everything going for him. This guy has every advantage.
He's got grenades.
I don't know how.
He's got grenades.
Okay.
He has grenades.
He's got wind.
Final. He's got wind. He's got grenades. The grenades play into the final, to the final beat. Because there was so much going on. I'm taking notes on this. I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong. Like he pulls the grenade on the guy as they're fighting.
Okay.
And
so
doesn't the grenade go off? Yeah.
Yeah. So they're fighting, right? And he's getting shot at by Banks because that's his name. Yeah. That's his name now. It's Banks. He's Kibakichi's on top of the roof or something, and he's trying not to get shot because he's super powerful, but he can still take a bullet, which he does take several bullets. He gets blown up by a grenade. Kibakichi gets blown up by a grenade. He's on the ground. Banks is about to finish him off. He gets his last grenade. Kibakichi gets, crawls to him, reaches out his arm, gets up real quick, and wham, right to his face. Continue.
And thus brings the battle to an end. And once the battle stops, once he's done, and like he's getting that moment of like catching his breath, we have two survivors left. We had the aforementioned girl that was going to sacrifice her, and there was this little kid that lived, a little yokai kid that lived in the. You see him wandering around. He honestly has nothing to do in this movie, other than to be a precocious little kid. I think he plays
hopscotch. He
plays hopscotch. He's got like he's kind of got like a wacky yokai face that he kind of reverts to back and forth, and at this point, Kibakichi reverts back to his human form, and they're like, well, that's it. Like literally, they're like, let's move on to the next adventure. Like the movie comes to like a screeching halt. Like they're like, there's no one left to kill. Let us wander off into the sunset like samurais do. Credits, literally credits. That is it. Like they're literally wandering off into the sunset, and it's credits. Now, sparkled into the credits, we get a couple little. You have to, I think, by law, have to have these scenes in like a samurai-esque film of like him standing next to Pyre and him walking down a road as the credits are rolling, and they're all just they add absolutely nothing to this story other than those are some cool shots. We need to have them in there, and also to make sure you're watching the credits, and it just ends. But you know what? You're not disappointed. You're like, I can't believe what I just watched.
This movie, it ends, and you want to see more. Like you want what I call cuddle time after the movie. You want to see everyone, what are they doing 3 months later?
Yeah.
But no. It's, what we can't, like, the story's done. There's no one left to kill. What more do you want? Are you not entertained? Because you should be. Everyone, you saw a guy get decapitated, holding onto a grenade and blown up. Like that.
You know what this ending reminded me of that I'll like I'm sitting there watching. I'm like, this movie came out. There's no way they saw it when they were making this movie, but it literally almost verbatim ends the same way that Van Helsing ends. Like there's the big fight, and then it just the fight's over. The one thing like Kate Beckinsale dies, and then it's just like, all right, we're riding off in the sunset. Like literally, it's like you don't get the cuddle time. You just get the all right, we're ending this now, and that's it. Like we are off to the next adventure, whatever that will be. Now we do know Van Helsing did not get another adventure, but Kibakichi did, for better or for worse.
Yeah.
But that is an episode for another day. So, Arian originally he's like, we should do both. I'm like, no. There's so much on this one.
You want to,
There's so much to go to the next one.
Buddy.
That's the thing. You were remembering, because that's the problem. When I pitched it, like, oh yeah, that was, with the weird flower scene. I'm like, oh no, you're thinking of the wrong one, sir. You're not thinking of the right one. And that's not gonna be the next episode. We'll save that for maybe a couple episodes down the line. We'll come and revisit, because you know why?
How about we get to a subscriber list, like a number of subscribers, and we'll watch Kibakichi too. How's that sound?
That sounds like a good idea. I think we'll save that special one for another day. But my God, I love this movie to death. It is stuff. It's all the stuff. Again, it's what I call all the stuff I drew as a kid. Like it feels like a 9-year-old pitched an awesome premise for a movie and then actually accomplished it. And I say that in the most the
nicest way possible.
Lost for words. I say that in the best way possible, absolute best way possible. This movie is freaking fantastic. I guarantee there's a lot of people that don't even know it exists. I know a lot of people who have watched it, they enjoy it, but there's still a lot of other people. Like when I was pulling up clips of YouTube, there, especially the ending fight scene, people are like, "What the hell am I watching? What is this? This is batshit bonkers." And they're like, "Yeah, just watch the whole movie. It's a damn good movie." And again, I was regaling this with a buddy of mine when we were watching Tetsuo the other night. It harkens back to a day and age when low budget films had to work with what they had. Today, CG effects are doable, and a lot of filmmakers kind of like fall back on them. But my problem with like a lot of low budget films today is that the people making them have bigger dreams of grandeur for the projects than the resources they have in front of them. This knew exactly what it had. They had literally like 2 sets. This movie takes place on literally one giant set, and there's a couple of scenes shot like on location, like they're off in the countryside. But that's it. It's literally almost like it's like it's what they call like a 4-walled episode, where it all happens within like a 50-foot radius. Like they're in the casino, they're outside, or they're in the courtyard. And at no point where you're like, it doesn't bump you at all. It is right out of the book of the Robert Rodriguez School of Filmmaking. Use what you have and do what you know. And clearly the budget went into the monster suits, because the monster suits are just absolutely fantastic. The designs on them are spectacular. They're exceptionally well crafted, beyond, like, especially Kibakichi in his wolf form is one of my favorite. I want a kit of this thing. I want a figure. I want all the other yokai. Like, it bothers me that this is not a bigger movie. It doesn't even feel like it's even that big of a cult film. Like, this feels like one of those movies that just enough people do not know about.
I agree.
I'm hoping the people listening to this episode, they will track it down. Now, it is available on DVD. You can find it fairly cheap online if you wish to have it part of your collection. I highly recommend anybody who has never seen this go online. I think on Amazon it's pretty cheap. You can buy it for like $5 on eBay. Like everyone has their copies up there. This was it's not a hard movie to find. It's also on YouTube. If you're one of those people that are like, I don't buy DVDs anymore, and I say, what is wrong with you? You are what's wrong with America right now. But you can find it online to watch, and it's full. There's a copy that's fully subbed, so you can, if you don't want to spend the $5 on eBay, you can watch it this way. But I highly recommend this movie. I cannot recommend this movie. There's no level that of highness. I will not stop recommending this movie to people. Your final thoughts?
Lots of thoughts. This movie is, oh boy, where do we start? I don't want to rain on your parade because this is a great movie, and I do believe that a lot of people should go out and watch these. If you like Kamen Rider, if you like Ultraman, if you like Godzilla, if you like any sort of tokusatsu, if you like action movies, if you like Yakuza movies, if you like samurai movies, if you Chambara movies, you should watch this movie. It's only 90 minutes. And the only problem I have with this movie is the lack of soundtrack. The music's great when it plays. But some like you said, there's a part of the middle where just like there's almost no music and you're just like, come on, like let's go. Let's get to the thing. Like maybe it's like toward the middle, it slows down, they want to pad it out. What's her name? Jun. What's the other yokai from the village? What's her name?
Oh, Aju.
Aju. That never really goes anywhere.
Yeah.
In this movie, at least.
Yeah.
There is that slow middle part, but if you can get through those 15 minutes, then you're great. This movie is awesome. And while the first time I watched this again, I was like, oh shit, well, that was a thing. And then the next day, I was like, man, I want to see that again. It has, because the second or the third time or whatever, watching it again right before talking about this, there was a lot more that I didn't notice the first time. Like how much the wind has a lot to do with it. Oh, that one yokai. There's a lot. It's very visually dense. Even when the guy's down in the basement with the spooky skeletons, there's a lot that upon second viewing, you're like, oh shit, that little detail. Or like, oh, that guy's that guy. Or this yokai's that guy. And then, I didn't seeing the dice yokai die is the saddest. When he closes his little eye, I'm like, oh.
Yes, it's like the Terminator when he sacrifices himself and he's giving a thumbs up as he's going into the molten steel.
But that is the only criticism I have for this movie. This is a great. There are worse ways to spend 90 minutes, and I think this is a much better. I'd rather watch this twice than Avatar 2. So let's be real.
Avatar. Well, that's what we call a bloated movie.
Yeah, you don't need to watch.
There's a whole 45 minutes in that film. They're like, a little liberal use of the scissors would have been great.
Look, I do miss these 90, 100 minute movies. This is a great early 2000s. You want to call this tokusatsu? Is that what you call this, or is this like a?
I would argue this falls into that. I mean, people, various places when I was reading up on it, some people consider it more a samurai film. That has, it's not quite I pronounce it Chanabara. It's not exactly that because there's not a ton of. I mean, there's sword fights. There's not a ton of sword fights in this, and it is a beautiful cornucopia of various genres, and it executes them exceptionally well. There's a lot. I was reading some reviews of like when the movie came out because it was shown on some festival circuits. Don't believe it got. I don't know if it got a theatrical release in Japan or if it was like a V cinema movie, but it did hit the festival circuit, and there are people reviewing. They're like, again, the first time watching it, that middle sequence does drag the movie a little bit, and it does. From what I was reading of those reviews, that did seem to have like it hampered a little bit on some people's review. But this is definitely a movie like revisit it because it's a lot cooler than you remember it. I would definitely consider this more tokusatsu film than anything else because there's just so much. There's just so much emphasis on the yokai, the monsters, the suits. So I would lean it towards that. It's a tokusatsu samurai film, than not a samurai tokusatsu film. If you know,
Gotcha.
if that makes any sense.
Gotcha. Yeah, man. This is a great movie. I'm really glad you recommended this movie again, or we picked this movie so early in the experiment, or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
This is
well, especially after doing 10 episodes of Kamen Rider, I'm like, we need a little something a little lighter, a little tighter.
Yeah, this is. I like this movie a lot, and I do wish there was more merch for it because maybe that'll get people in. I know M1 did a Safubi of Kibakichi. There's like an SD set. I know. Good luck finding it.
Yeah.
There is like an SD super deformed set that came with the DVD. Little finger puppets. Of all the yokai, I know because I recognize the Cyclops is in there, and obviously the Kibakichi's in it. This is great. If you've seen the yokai monster movies, you should watch this. If you like Daimajin, you should watch this.
Actually, this and Daimajin, the first Daimajin, that's a perfect coupling.
Ooh.
You want to watch the first Daimajin. That's a good double feature because they're both great period piece movies. They both straddle that line of like, are these these samurai films or are these tokusatsu? They're the wonderful blend of genres that work. Kind of like how Evil Dead is both a comedy and a horror film. Or Evil Dead 2, not Evil Dead 1, Evil Dead 2.
Gotcha.
Yes.
I know what you mean.
Yeah.
Yeah. Again, I recommend this movie a lot. Chris recommends this movie a lot. If you got nothing to do for 90 minutes, go look it up. Go find it. You will be. You know what? Let us know what you think. I'd love to hear your guys' comments on it.
I might post. I'm going to try to find the YouTube link. I'll post it in the show notes.
Very nice.
So if you're curious to watch it and you don't want to pay the money, there's a version you can watch, and I definitely recommend everybody checking it out. On that note, if you want to know where said show notes are, you can find them on our website, thekaijukingdompodcast.com, which is the mothership show, if you will. You can also find all of our stuff at the Kaiju Kingdom at facebook.com/the Kaiju Kingdom podcast. We're also on Instagram, which is Instagram at the Kaiju Kingdom, and same thing with Twitter, also at the Kaiju Kingdom. If you want to leave a review, if you like what you hear, if you have criticisms, anything, please feel free to leave any comments on. I'll mostly see them on our Facebook and our Instagram, as this show is part of the main feed on the Kaiju Kingdom podcast. So hopefully, if you're tuning in, hopefully we're not bamboozling you by you're like, hey, what happened to where's Jessica and all that? No, those shows will be we're going in and out with these. As you're listening to this right now, we're in the middle of Lunar New Year, so Jessica is off celebrating. Once that's all done, we'll be back with some new episodes very, very soon. But until then, I hope you guys have given this show a chance because the goal of it is to hopefully expose people to things they have never seen before, and maybe with our recommendations, you check out something that you never knew existed, or you heard about it and you're like, you know what, I might give that a look. So on that note, that will do it for the second episode of Kamen Kaizers. I'm Chris.
I'm Arian. And thanks for joining us. We'll see you later. Sayonara, sucker.
I'm putting this in the end, but I'm letting Arian come up with the sign off. So
Every week it's going to be different. It's going to get worse every week.
different